Walking Dead. That would be cool.
It will sure. I can make it.
Yeah, but for those of us that want to be taller, can it do that?
No, because I've been trying to get it to make me look skinnier.
That's a tall order. Tall order, my friends.
Well, my kids are all outgrowing me. So, if I may, Ming Chen is here with us. And these are several of our Houston bloggers, and they have some questions for you about, of course, Comicpalooza. And being social media influencers themselves, I'm sure there's also a great deal of questions about how you manage to be so good
Well, thank you.
at both being an actor and being available to your audience.
Fire away, guys.
So, go right ahead. And, of course, Miss Anita Long, she is the president of Women in Film here in Houston. She's also a teacher and an author, and it's a very long, but I think this is a nice, she's going to be joining us for the second half of the round table, but in the meantime, she gets to hang out with the entertainment people too.
And it's cool
because it works.
Yes.
Besides that, it was cooler in here, so I drove here. So please go right ahead.
I love how much you love our city. I've seen you talking on social media about how much you love Houston. What are your favorite things to do when you're here?
I literally go and I eat everywhere I can within. I try to stay here for a week and just hit as many like cool restaurants as possible. I'm very much into the coffee culture too, and I met like the coffee guy here. He happens to be a huge geek. Which didn't hurt.
Right.
But he runs like 3 of the top like really cool hipster coffee joints around here. And yeah, cocktails. So I drink a lot of cocktails. But yeah, I really love the city. It's weird. I've been to Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin, and a lot of people there talk down Houston, and I'm like, what are you talking about? You guys don't know where
We're the best.
Houston is amazing. I see Houston as like there's so much here. It was like the 4th largest city in the U.S. And there's so much here, but if you might have to dig a little bit. But if you find the gems, it's incredible. It's such an incredible place.
I completely agree.
Yeah, but the reason I'm in Houston, the reason I started going to Comicpalooza 2 years ago, I found out I had a long lost cousin that lived in Bel Air, and we had met briefly in New Jersey. We hit it off, but I'd always wanted to come to Houston, so I literally went on Twitter and I tweeted at Comicpalooza. I was like, hey, I see you guys got a con in Houston. I'd love to come someday, like a not so subtle hint. And God bless them, like literally right away, they're like, hey, why don't you come this year? And this will be my 3rd year at Comicpalooza, so I guess they must like me.
Yeah, well, speaking for all of my city, yes, we love you.
Yeah.
We like having you here.
But I think my friend David, who runs those coffee places, kind of put it best. Is like, Houston's a place, like if you want to do something, do it. You can do it here. There's there's no overcrowding in one set genre. Like if you really have the passion if you want to open up a boutique or a comic book store or a coffee place or a coffee place / comic book store, you could literally do it here and probably succeed.
I think that should be our new slogan, Houston. If you want to do something, you can do it here.
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
Yes.
Come and do it.
Yeah, I think Nike stole that one.
Yeah.
We'll take it back.
We'll modify it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
We may have it in Spanish and they'll be like,
perfect. Exactly.
And they won't even know the difference.
Right. I have a question. You've mentioned before that The Creature is one of your favorite comic books.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the new TV adaptation that AMC just premiered, I think it was 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I've been reading the books as it came out about 20 years ago in 1996. So this is a live action adaptation and something I've literally been waiting for 20 years. They tried to make a movie in 1998. Oddly enough, Kevin Smith was attached as an executive producer. I think at the time it was a little too ahead of its time with all the religious, controversial religious overtones and things like that. So I think now is probably a better environment. I think we're just a little more tolerant, and I think they were kind of looking for an avenue where it's a very violent comic book. So, but I think after with The Walking Dead, they kind of proved that you can show violence after like 9 p.m. on a Sunday, and people are already with it. I'm liking the adaptation. I thought they would be a little more straightforward with the story, and I thought the first episode was like, wow, they're really like I've read the I knew who all the characters were, but I think if you didn't, it might turn you off. It might be hard to latch onto. But I don't. But on the other hand, I'm kind of seeing where they're going with it. Like Weird and Obscure is definitely working these days with things like Lost, and you know, back in the day, like Twin Peaks was kind of like that. So hopefully people stick with it. I'm especially being right here in Houston right now. I'm digging all the kind of Western influence in the Johnny Cash soundtrack, and it is beautifully shot too. So it's yeah, I'm digging it so far.
Cool. Good. Anyone else? Who's next?
I have an off-the-wall question.
Ask away.
Somebody, we were talking the other night, and I'm going to ask every celebrity I meet.
Ask away.
What is next to your nightstand besides your cell phone when you go to bed at night?
It's a huge pile of trade paperback comic books. I have, yeah, anything from Hawkeye to the Avengers to what else? I think I have Dark Knight Returns on my nightstand. Just you know, winding down at the end of the night is nothing better than reading a comic book.
Reading material.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's, I mean, there's a huge, it's overflowing. It's literally that and the Walter Isaacson Steve Jobs biography. It's so big that I can't move it off my nightstand. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Apple fanboy and a big fan of Steve Jobs. So yeah, those are, but definitely comic books. Like literally falling on the floor, overflowing. And the other thing on there is something at AMC. I don't know why or where they created it, but they made these comic man themed nightstand tables. There's like our cartoon imagery on the nightshade, and they had them out for a press event or something. They had like 4 of them, and like each one of us were like, well, we're taking these. Definitely taking these. So yeah, those are pretty cool.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. And I live in Bel Air, so you have a cousin in Bel Air.
Yes.
So, and it's so funny when you found out about your long lost cousin.
Yeah.
I mean, how did that happen? I mean, that's cool.
I just found out through another family member, like, hey, you have this cousin, and she started describing her to me. It's like, well, she's about your age. She loves going on these weird food adventures, and she loves hockey and like pop culture. And I'm like, yeah, we're definitely related. It's like, I've got to meet this girl. And yeah, I mean, it was literally Pre-Comicpalooza that kind of brought us together though. So that which is pretty cool. So that first year, you know, I had our table, and she came by and like kind of saw what that was all about and had a lot of fun. So we continued to. It's kind of a tradition now where I come to Houston.
There. And I see that you like St. Arnold's.
I love St. Arnold's Brewing. Yes.
What's your favorite beer from St. Arnold's?
Oh man, that's a great question. You know what? I'm partial to all the Divine Reserves that come out every year. Every year I go out on Twitter and I was like, hey, is anybody have an extra bottle? You know, if you're coming to Pre-Comicpalooza, bring me a bottle. And usually I wind up with a few. So I know it's pretty tough to get. And it's kind of like it's like a thing here in Houston to, you know, when the Divine Reserves come out, like you perk up and you pay attention, and you know, I don't know if people line up for it or whatever, but
there's so many breweries here in Houston. I mean, I think that's one of the top ones.
Yeah. I love Carbach. I love Eighth Wonder. I know there's some other ones, but you know, and if I'm in the Midwest, I see Shiner. Like, you know, just get a little taste of Texas. You know, pick up the Shiner. Yeah, and, I can't remember who does it. The Rock. Eighth Wonder does one called Rocket Fuel with coffee in it, which combines 2 of my loves. So.
Well, next time also, what is it? More cowbell. What's his name? Buffalo Bio Brewing. Razul has one. That's awesome.
Yeah, you have to go to Buffalo Bayou.
Okay.
Yeah, Buffalo Bio Brewing.
Yeah, but I love local. Wherever I'm at, I always try to, you know, eat or drink local. So.
What comic book character are you waiting to see make it to film?
I am Hawkeye, of course, has been in the Avengers, but the comic book Hawkeye is way different right now. He's just kind of like a regular guy. The comic book out now is they kind of relaunched it about 2 years ago, and it's written by a comic book writer named Matt Fraction. And the tagline is, "This is Hawkeye. He's an adventurer. This is what he's doing when he's not part of the Avengers." And he's just a regular kind of screw-up guy. He's got a dog that loves pizza, and he's trying to save his apartment building from the Russian mafia. And he's hanging out with the Kate Bishop Hawkeye, which I think is even cooler. So that they're always at each other's throats, and that's a version of Hawkeye that I want to see on the big screen. I didn't really love I think Jeremy Renner's great, and I think him doing all the action scenes are great. But the last movie where they had him with this hidden family somewhere, I totally disagreed with, simply for the fact that if you're part of a super group fighting the world's or the universe's mightiest villains, they're gonna go after your family first. Like you. Probably shouldn't have any attachments like that, because that's your biggest weakness is, you know, I'm not saying like don't fall in love or anything, but you kind of have to, you have to be kind of like a Jedi about it and not although it didn't work out for the Jedis either. So it's tough to fight emotions, I realize, but I thought that was an odd decision by Joss Whedon to have him with this hidden family on some farm somewhere, because that's where they're gonna come after. But the comic book Hawkeye, if they put him in a movie version, I'd be very happy.
If you had a super power, what would that be?
For a guy like me, I think I'm going to 26 conventions this year. Teleportation would be pretty amazing. I mean, yeah, dealing with like airlines and TSA and all that is kind of a pain in the butt, and airline delays and canceled flights and stuff. I've been fairly lucky actually, but it's still a pain in the butt. Teleportation would be pretty amazing, and that means I could come to Houston whenever I wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
Just come here, eat, and then go back.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, like literally, I think I would do that. Like I've traveled great distances for like a taco. So yeah.
As a bucket lister, I like to always ask people, what's the number one thing on your bucket list?
Like ever?
Like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your goal?
Oh man,
if you could do anything, what would it be?
My list is so long. It varies from it varies from like visiting every country to like becoming a yoga instructor. Like it's such a weird list. Or
I don't think you're weird. My list is literally a book this big, so
yeah.
I don't think that's odd at all. That's perfectly normal.
Yeah, or going into space would be cool, but like I don't know how the food is up there. So
space food.
Yeah, I'm a pretty adventure. I mean, it can be very specific, like hang gliding over like the Serengeti, or I don't, or like swimming with the great whites in South Africa. It's all kind of adventure based or food based. There's this one restaurant in like Roses, Spain, which I've always read about. Like they only give out like 400 reservations like a year, and that's something like that is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But just kind of like traveling, and I think my bucket list might be shorter than most. Like a lot of people have like meet Stan Lee, and I've got to do that like multiple times.
Check.
Be on TV, like things like that. I've been pretty lucky in that respect. But mine are probably mostly travel based, I think.
And mine too.
And for me, just one more question for you guys to wrap up, and then we'll get a picture.
I have a question.
Yes.
What do you want your legacy to be?
That's a great question. I think. I'm kind of on my way there, where when I died, I want people to remember it's like, well, that's a guy who like really lived, like he spent every waking hour looking for like doing cool stuff, and I think I think I'm so far so good on that. I think I can't sit still. I can't. It's funny, like these conventions. I know a lot of these guests, or even Brian Johnson, who's on the show with me, like. He'll go to the convention, but once like it hits 7 o'clock, like he's up in his hotel room ordering room service and watching Netflix, and I could never do that, especially in a city like Houston where there's so much out there.
Right.
Like once the convention ends, like I'm in an Uber going to some cocktail bar or some some restaurant where I heard they had awesome steaks, but I always try to inspire other people, like people like that. I was like, come on, let's get out, like go out. There's a 24-hour donut shop. Let's go at 3 a.m.
You and I could still be friends.
Yeah, I literally just kind of inspire people to live. I think life is so short, and that that extends to either living or like just making friends. Like I like making friends in every city I go to too. It definitely helps out in life. So I don't know. I really want to just inspire people to go and like live and run around and. Get into trouble, get out of trouble. Just kind of just have fun. Yeah, life is really just so short. That, I think that's why I like conventions so much. It's something that people literally look forward to all year. They'll save their money. They'll build a costume, and then like they'll just like won't sleep for 3 days.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm in that mode right now.
Yeah.
Can I ask, because this is a question we ask of everybody, what is your definition of a nerd?
My definition of nerd is just really someone that has a passion for anything, really. I don't really see it as having to be limited to. I mean, where do you draw the line? Like, is it a nerd someone who loves comics, pop culture, space travel, science fiction? Let me think. Computers. Yeah, that's kind of a pigeonhole thing. It is for anyone who has well, I think a nerd really is, there's like having passion for something, and then like loving like Star Wars. Like you've seen people who love Star Wars. That's on a whole nother level, and I think anybody can reach that level. But I think it's all the traditionally nerd stuff is where people will reach that, or be motivated to reach that level. It's hard to be a nerd for, like calculus maybe, but if you apply calculus to like the physics behind a TIE fighter, then you're kind of elevated to that level. But I think it really has to do with the passion though, where you'll go and like join the 501st and build your own stormtrooper costume. Like that's above and beyond. Things like that, or memorizing like all the TK numbers for all the stormtroopers that ever popped up in the Star Wars or something.
Oh my God, my son knows he's 10 and he knows them all.
Yeah, which is great, which is how it should be. I think I meet I not so much anymore, but back then I met so many just kind of passionless people who like didn't really they cared about things that I felt were sort of mundane, but I think the stuff that we love, the science fiction aspects, runs so deep, and the universes are so large that you can really kind of get really engrossed in that. But it's really a definition of there's a measurable passion for the things that we love. So I think that defines a nerd, and it really could. I could be a nerd for I could be a geek for cars. I could be a geek for architecture, or a geek for Star Trek. Like it's not really defined that much, I don't think.
Awesome. Since he's not here, I'm going to ask the last question.
Yes.
What would be your advice for someone who is out there writing a comic book and wants to make it as a comic book writer?
I think it's, especially these days, it's pretty easy to get a comic book published. I think the hardest part is coming up with that initial idea and writing it. Once you have it on paper, or even once you have an idea, even if you don't want to write it, you can find someone who will write it. Artists, there's no shortage of comic book artists out there. You can literally go out on like Facebook, or you can go to a con, look at everybody's art and artist alley's like, wow, I really like this guy. And you can pay him to draw your book, and once you get that going, you can go out on the internet and have it printed for relatively it's not that expensive really, depending on quantity. I mean, it could be as low as 50 cents a book. If you want full color or whatever, obviously it's going to cost more. But yeah, people are doing it every day, and then once you get that, just getting it out there. If it's good, it's good. It'll find its audience for sure. But just a quick example. We've had pretty much the same crew for Comic Book Men for the last 5 seasons. So most of them knew about comics. I didn't really read them religiously, but being in the store all that time, they started picking up and reading books and getting into the stories. And a couple of them decided, it's like, we're gonna do our own comic book, just kind of out of the blue. And we threw some encouragement at them, but they went out and they did it, and they got a legit book, and it got into like diamond distribution, which is not easy. And they got it into stores. And but I mean, these are literally guys who knew nothing about publishing a book, and they're doing it kind of at the highest level now. And it took them, a year and a half maybe. So, yeah, literally, if they can do it, like I think anybody else can. So yeah, the resources out there it's not that hard.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Are we gonna take a group picture?
Yeah, I think this.